So welcome everybody to the IEP LiveLearnLunch. This is our 60th LiveLearnLunch in the series, and we're really excited today to be joined by Sharon from Careermap. I'm not going to tell you lots more about it because I'm going to hand over to Sharon, and she's going to take us through her session today, which is titled I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. So welcome to Sharon, and over to you.
Hi everybody, nice to meet you. I'll just tackle the screen sharing. Give me a second here. Great. So really lovely to meet everyone. Thank you for joining me. Before I start the title, I thought I'd give you a bit of a clue, and maybe you can put in the chat. I'm not sure I can see the chat at the same time. Let me just make sure I can. Right. Sorry about this. Anyway, great. Nice to meet everyone. I've called this I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For because for those of you who advise, mentor, career advise other people, I'm sure you come across this phrase a lot. For little kids, it can be the same phrase can be, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So as an advisor, it can be challenging older people when you're talking about something that is career changing, not just progression in the career that they're in. So they might want to be looking at doing something totally different in a different sector, and trying to find out what's available can often be challenging because you can't possibly know everything. Also, what you can't do and what they may struggle with is trying to search for something if you don't know what is out there, what actually exists. And as we all know, with technology, careers are moving forward at pace and will change and evolve. And there's quite a lot of jobs out there that we may not even know ourselves, even if it's just the job title that's changed. So what I've done with this session is, as was said, I'm a director at Careermap, but one of my hats I wear is editor of our Careermags, which are career advisor magazines. And as a writer, as an editor, we're always seeking for good quality content about careers. My role that we find really good resources. And so what I'm going to do today is share those with you because they will be the same sort of things that will help you advise people on how and thoughts and expand their minds possibly. So this is the age-old issue. I have no idea what I want to do. And often this is seated in limited knowledge of not just what their personal experiences are. They may have only worked in one sector or have had one kind of career, but also their history and their family and their background and where they live. Their family experiences may have given them very limited experiences as well. And as I'm sure we all know, hailing people with their skills, sometimes people don't see what those transferable skills are, which are absolutely essential if you're going to move from one sector to another. Now, not everything I'm speaking about today is about jumping entire sectors or industries. Some of it is moving horizontally within your own vertical sector to a different type of job role within that. So what's the most important thing with all this, and I'm sure you all know, is LMI, labor market information. I'm going to take this as a little bit of a base level and work up because is familiar with this. And one thing I know, even from my own experience, is actually finding LMI, labor market information data, or knowing what to do with it or how to apply you can just go out there and press a button and somebody's going to tell you all the answers. So what I'm going to do today is explore how you can go around and really good quality resources that can give you this sort of information. So labor market information is the data about where you are. So it's what the jobs are, what kind of earnings there are, who the employers are, what skills they're looking for. And what having this sort of ammunition, as it were, can help answer some of the questions that I have on this slide.
Hi,
Jobs should I
Sharon.
be looking for? Who's actually hiring? Yes?
Sorry to interrupt you. We're having a little bit of sound dipping in and out, so I wonder if it's bandwidth. So would it be possible to maybe switch your camera off and see if that helps with the
Yes, of
bandwidth a
course.
little? And then we'll have videos back on in a moment. Thanks, Sharon. Sorry to disturb
Yeah,
you.
no, that's fine. Yep. Okay, I hope I'm still here. Um, I'll carry on in the dark. Right, so when we're looking at what kind of jobs you should be seeking, who's hiring for these roles, where are these roles? Do I have the skills that are needed? Should I continue my education rather than diving into the job market? That's quite an important one. I'd like to have another session about at another point, because at the moment, the government is frankly throwing quite a lot of money at adult skills and making these kind of jumps and career progression. There are lots of opportunities for free qualifications and courses that you can take. Also, what courses might give me the best opportunities? Now, these are the sort of questions that you will be able to help answer when you have the proper labour market information. One of our partners, and I believe they're partners of IEP as well, is EMSI, which is a labour market information organization. So when we're writing our content, particularly about special sectors, we are able to go to them to get the kind of data. They get their data, if you see on the image on the screen, on the average earning levels by, for instance, this is just by education. They also do it by sector. But it helps you to have a clear idea of what you can, and you can share that information. And I'll come back more to this at different points throughout the presentation. Right. So I'm going to go straight into talking about a couple of sectors. The first one is engineering. As everybody may be aware, at the moment, engineering is one of the growth areas for recruitment. And it doesn't mean that everybody, like the picture of the girl there who's underneath a bit of machinery and getting stuck in, doesn't necessarily mean that there are only jobs that in engineering that is working with machinery. There's all sorts. And what a lot of people need to be thinking about is, for instance, if they're in administration, there's still administrators required in the engineering sector. So what you can start talking about is matching desires of what they want to do with maybe their passions. So for instance, if they love fast cars, why not do the kind of job that you do? If that's marketing, if that's admin, if that's engineering, do it in a sector that has a kind of roles and drive, pardon the pun, that matches what you love as well, because we will spend a lot of our time at work, and having the ability to match your passions to the actual sector you're in will make for a much more fulfilled experience. But interesting, in the quote I pulled out here is adults who are lacking digital skills on the way up to 2020 are going to struggle getting jobs in engineering or manufacturing, because everything is moving on to, you might hear AI, you might hear data sciences. All these things are not replacing, and I think it's a really clear message, they're not replacing jobs within the sector, but you have to deal with them because they're doing the lower level jobs in the sector. And what they will be looking for is people who are very organized, people who like to dive into data and do research, people who like to look at processes and let the machines do the work, but having access to and an understanding and some data skills are going to be really important. So Ingenuity is a not-for-profit organization. It used to be called SEMTA, if you've heard of that before. They have 20,000 engineering members. I've put their link on the page, because if you go on to the page, you will be able to see that there are lots of career information and LMI information for the engineering sector in there. Now, I put this up because sometimes you just have raw data and you don't know what to do with that raw data. And interpretation is one of the biggest and most sometimes challenging aspects. So for Careermag, we produce Careermag for lifelong learning. And as I said, I'm an editor. So I take that data and then overlay certain up-to-date information or topics like COVID and coming out of COVID in terms of careers, that can help interpret that for you and make it an easier read, easier to absorb. But I will talk more about that later. Another sector that has, as I'm sure, just as assumptions, not even a scientific guess, is about this healthcare, social and healthcare sectors. With the pandemic, there are lots of roles that have grown. Obviously, it's challenging. It brings all sorts of other issues. But one of the things that speaking to people at Skills for Care, that's the sector body on the care sector, they really do point out that their most important thing is about values and behaviors, even sometimes more than qualifications. They are very much looking at the right sort of person for the job, and you can get the qualifications on the job. So the links that I've put up here on the right are different parts of career information based on LMI, but also about qualifications and the sort of roles that people want and are looking for, to help you advise people looking to move about or even enter that sector, particularly for people who are older, who may want to do something a bit more away from the office and care for other people. And if they're not sure, there is an actual quiz on the page that can you can have your candidates, potential candidates, have a look through and see if they actually are suitable for that role. Again, we work with these sorts of organizations on a regular basis to inform our content. Like you, I mean, this is your job, mentoring and speaking with people, but I certainly wouldn't proclaim to be an expert on every single sector there is and have all the information. And actually, I like talking to people anyway, and I'm always fascinated and always learn something. And that's one thing about this whole I haven't found what I'm looking for, is to being open to learning and to be willing to explore and to not write off areas of or sectors simply because you think, oh, well, I don't want to, I'm not good with working with old people, it doesn't sound right for me, it doesn't pay well, or whatever reasons they might have. If you look on the right here, they're saying about the types of jobs are available. I mean, obviously you have your direct care roles, but there are management roles, there are professional roles, there are ancillary roles. So it's trying to think wider, think of a sector as a vertical sector, and then think horizontally about the different kind of vacancies that are available. The Skills for Care is great. If you haven't heard of it already, there's an government organization called LMI for All. LMI for All is the government pulling together lots of data sources that they have from government, like Office for National Statistics and so on. I'll show you some of the ones that are included, and then they pop out this information, and they have what we can plug in. We've plugged it into our site, what's called the Careerometer, and the Careerometer represents this information in a palatable format and an understanding format. But where it can get really clever is if you're speaking to people who are thinking, well, I'm not sure if I need any further qualifications for progression. This is just an example to show what a difference it can be. So if you are in pharmacy and say you are an assistant in a pharmacy, you can expect an annual pay of around £16,000. If you go on and get the full qualification and become a qualified pharmacist, that doubles. So this is just an example, but it's a way that you can compare two different types of roles and what the expectations are. It can also talk about the workforce change. So obviously at the moment, the pharmacy assistants are going down because the shops have been closed, but there's a huge amount of growth for pharmacists because they will be the ones that will have to do prescribing, whatever the situation is and wherever that takes place. On our Careerometer here, you can take two jobs and they do present themselves next to each other. So you can do a compare and a contrast. MZ, I've talked about earlier, so they specialize in labor market information. I'm not in the bank with them. I don't think they even know I'm promoting it, but they are really good. They do their own webinars that you will have to pick your way through, but they're very good for up-to-date topical information, like, for instance, coming out of COVID, what's a market looking like? And the way that MZ gets their data is they do data scraping on job vacancies. So all their data is based on how many vacancies are there currently in the market for graduates in, say, I don't know, well, pharmacists, for instance. But they can also tell you how you can drill down and get local labor market or regional labor market information. So it's well worth this link. This is being recorded, by the way, so if if I'm whizzing through too fast, you'll be able to watch again and get those links. And if I was more clever than I am, I would be able to put them in the chat now. But when I stop screen sharing, I'll put these back in the chat for you so you can open them. Here's some other labor market information and data sources that you can get as well. If you make a note of the Office for National Statistics, the Labor Force Survey, just make a note of the names. Now, this is pretty hard data, except for the HESA Graduate Outcome Survey. When I say hard data, that means it's literally lists quite often, and therefore it's down to you to make those interpretations from that data. But having said that, if you're looking for something specific, you can get a good feel about what the market is looking like in a specific. I find going somewhere where you can read that somebody's explained it and expanded on it for you and put it into context. Now, I have a whole big slide here of loads of links. This is my book, as it were. Whenever we're doing a specific feature or topic, these are the places that I go to get information to help inform our content. And there's a whole range of different ones, and each one of these have different elements of specialism in there that can help you. But the most important thing is that they're from sector bodies, they're not for profit bodies. Now, everybody wants to sell something. Each one of these organizations are trying to promote their own organization, but they will have and often presented in a beautiful way. And sometimes
Hi everyone. I think we've just lost Sharon for a moment. There, is she back? You back, Sharon?
Am I back now? Yeah, sorry about that. I'll put the screen sharing. Is my screen still sharing? Sorry about that, everyone.
Not at the moment, but that's fine. It is now.
Okay, hopefully I won't drop out again. I apologize to everyone. My Wi-Fi has decided of all days to be a little bit challenging. Like I said, this presentation is being recorded, so I know there's an awful lot of links here. Another thing that you could do is a print screen, if you like, if you want to go into it sooner. But each one of these will have a lot of information in and quizzes and all sorts of information for you to use. Finally, and most importantly to me, if I'm still here and you can still see and hear me, is our Careermag for Lifelong Learning. And hopefully you will be able to subscribe to this, and we go through, for instance, our sector spotlights, where we deep dive into social care, food and drink and legal services is what we've done recently. And you'll be able to read more and, like I said, contextualize, and it's also great for sharing. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. That is the end of my presentation. Sorry to counter through, and apologies for the poor quality.
Okay, so
Are you there?
I'm here. You have broken up a bit. It was fine for a while and it got a bit worse, but that's fine. These things happen. These are the wonders of modern technology. I'm just going to pop back through the chat and I'm going to encourage everyone now. We've got Sharon here to answer questions for us. I will say I can also as well, we can pop the links into the email that we send out to everyone who has attended. So that would be great. So it might be worth, Sharon, if you wanted to pop your video back on so we can see you. And what I can do is I can pop back through the chat and I can let you know about what questions have been asked. So if you have any questions, those of you who are on the session at the moment, have any questions, pop them in chat and I will put them to Sharon. Now I'm just looking back as we went because there was a really interesting comment that was shared early on that I wanted to put to Sharon, and now I can't find it. Typically, always good fun this is, isn't it? So let me see here. So it was from Debs. So Debs asked, when we talk about she talked about defining digital skills. So are we talking digital literacy or expertise in digital tools and technologies? And these are very different. There are huge issues with poverty and poor foundation educational delivery, which should now embed digital literacy as the norm and still isn't. Why do we think this is, if we know? Also soft skills, resilience, reality of approach, and all of those skills that enable us to be able to work effectively are also lacking. Again, any thoughts on why? I can go back to sections of that. I realise it's a lot of questions there in one.
Right. Well, I think it is. I think it's so different for every single person involved. If you talk about it very broadly, there is, they call it the fourth industrial revolution, and that is all about the fact that the impact of technology on every aspect of every job. And if people say they don't, you use technology every day, and most people on their job, whatever level, will be using technology. What about some aspects of this and having skills? It's skills that's related to what you do and to make you better at your job. And that is a different element to being a tech person. So you have your whole element of the vacancies that will look, I didn't put on that list, I don't know, it was the British BCS, or the Chartered Institute of IT. They have a lot of information and free courses. So does the Office for Students, by the way, has some free courses that are hard tech, that are about getting jobs in the field of technology. And there are a lot of vacancies, but not everybody's suited for that. That's different than picking up the sort of skills that will help you do your job better. So the government at the moment is just about to launch a whole load, a raft of free courses that you can take that will help you improve on your job. And at the moment, if you're not familiar with the government skills toolkit, there's a whole lot of free courses available now that they have worked with different organizations to be able to offer free courses. And these are everything from learning how to use Office and JavaScript and other sorts of programming. Hello.
Hello, sorry about that. So yes, that's fantastic. Martin's asked another question. What training could a practitioner receive to improve their confidence in using LMI?
Well, that's a tricky question because it's not really my area of expertise. I think that having that kind of well, maybe that's actually something we should think about offering and doing a little bit of a session on. I'll have to do some research for you and get back to you on that, because there must be some out there. But make a note to check for the actual training that one could do to actually how to use it.
Well, interestingly enough, it's not an outrageous plug here because the question came up, but we actually look at the use of LMI, labour market information, within the IEP accredited level 3 that's being offered by some of the training providers now, with a view, and it was developed in partnership with MZ, funnily enough, and around how do we test LMI, how do we make sure that we're looking at the right LMI that's going to work for us in our employability roles, because it is challenging. And for those of you on the session today, I did pop it in the chat, we have recently done some sessions with MZ, so there is always that as well. But there's always more that we can do, because I don't feel often we do enough with LMI, because there's, as you said earlier, Sharon, there's so much out there, isn't there? There's so much data you could collect, but people don't have the time. So it's making sure they're collecting the right data that they're then able to use effectively in those job roles.
Yeah, and quite often with that as well is that it's so individually bespoke for each person. So, you know, there's a raft of data, and it's being able to find the right bits of data to inform the conversation you're having with the person, so it's relevant, because there is a huge amount of data out there and there's increasingly more data available. So the skill really comes from the training part of being a good mentor, a good advisor, in being able to really listen and hear what they're looking for, and then go out and match that to the kind of things that would help them make the kind of informed decision.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely. We're getting lots of comments in around not just digital poverty, but poverty being a massive challenge for participants on programs across the board. And it can be a big, this can be a big problem with people identifying and using those transferable skills, can't it? Just having a look, we've got lots of comments coming in around the digital skills. Patrick says essential digital skills are also now becoming available, and a free with a free entitlement for a period. I mean, he shared a government link that people can click on in order to do that. Now, that won't show on the recording, but for those of you who are looking at the recording, you can contact the IEP and we will share that link. So thank you very much, Patrick. And Sharon, as you've shared a link there that's really interesting. It's something that's been in our learning network e-bulletin before, and that's the skills toolkit campaign of the government, which is a really useful one. It might be worth telling everyone a little bit about that for anyone who's not familiar.
Yeah, you mentioned essential skills. This is there's a lot of terms that are coming out, and they are referred to. Essential skills are transferable skills, but not all transferable skills are essential skills, if that makes sense. And it's, I think, one of the biggest shifts I've seen in the career space, and I'm very, very old, but very, very wise. It has been from more advising people about roles and where they're going and jobs, where it's definitely and important to think about skills. And we talk about skills all the time, but that's because people will be swapping and changing. You know, people don't have a role for 20 years in one organization. So what that will mean is a lot of introspection and helping people to recognize what their skills are. So when we talk about essential skills, it sounds really basic, but essential skills are things like being, you know, reading, but just understanding what that material means, being able to say that you can understand how to use documents, like we're talking about LMI now, numeracy, analysis, good writing skills. All these things, excuse me, are the basis of what's called essential skills, but people often don't recognize that they have these skills. And taking time to sit down with people and help them analyze what they have will help them jump, because we talk to employers every day. Again, you know, I talk about the sector skill bodies who inform what we do. Large employers do as well. And I can tell you, unless it's a very specific job that has very specific qualification requirements, quite often they will say, and I quote, if give me somebody who has these good basic skills of excuse me, passion for our sector, willing to learn, good at analysis, good at writing, good communication skills, and we will teach them the job. So I think kind of getting to grips with that is really kind of the basics. Then you build upon that into where do we go to get the training or the qualifications to help people transfer that into a new sector and to show their passions and look for vacancies. Looking for vacancies is also a really good way to start, because, you know, so many people will look at the job boards that are out there, including ours, and say, oh, well, I don't have this qualification. I don't have this qualification. I can't really do that. And again, coming back to understanding the skills and the expectations important. But this is where a labor market information can play a role as well, because if they think that that's not the sector for them, you know, you may be able to wow them with some information saying they are desperately seeking people, you know, apply. And that includes particularly in the big areas like engineering, construction, healthcare, and technology.
We've had an interesting
There seems to
question
be a
from
lot of
Sam.
question oh, go on.
Yeah, we've had an interesting question from Sam, who says there is information, or it's more of a statement, there is information you can get from job vacancies that provide a top 10 of baseline skills, and we use this a lot to show customers what they are capable of. Do you have like a top 10 of baseline skills that are most in demand? Or
Yeah, well, I've just mentioned a few there, but definitely and surprisingly the top 10 you know, includes, I wish I'd had that slide available with me from a previous presentation that we had from an employer, because they did research on what they see as the top skills that they look for compared to what people think employers are looking for. And one of the big mismatches is communication. Now, people often put communication, say their skills are, but put it where employers will, as a result of the digital world. I think a lot of employers are struggling to find, that means face to face, that means like this here, being on Zoom, this means how to write email, and all the different basic skills, which also leads to what they're trying to say, how to be succinct, how to use things like the STAR method, where you have a statement and then you transfer that and you can give reasons rather than just pontificating or putting out words. And those sorts of skills people really look for. Organization is often on the very top, and analysis is often very much at the top. And that's because if you're taking on a new employee, you want them to be able to get up to speed quickly and to understand what's going on around them and to pick up quickly what their role is and how they can help. And surprisingly, passion for the industry, passion for the job is not necessarily a skill, I guess, obviously, but it is something that people need to be able to show and demonstrate. And that links with the other things that I said, that they're willing to explore and they're willing to learn and willing to be part of it. And that's mostly important, recognizing these skills, like I said, if you're jumping sectors. So if you're a very good organizer, a very good data analysis, you can really skip to another sector whilst it may not feel like it. There has been a lot of things in the chat about the digital divide, which is really quite sad. And I think that that is something that is really core. All these things that we've put in about the digital skill sets and the toolkits, getting that information out there and getting people to get qualifications is really will help them. If nothing else, it would also give them confidence, you know, to tackle a job. If you think back when the pandemic started, everybody was thrust online. I mean, who even heard of Zoom, you know, before we you know, the COVID hit, and so many people who hardly opened the internet to search, much less using something like Zoom as a form of communication, which we all take for granted, I think is shows how quickly people can learn, but will need to learn, and those who haven't will struggle to keep up, because when the world carries on and we do come out of the roadmap, out of lockdown, a blended approach to the world of work will undoubtedly remain. Employers will be closing offices, people will have flexibility working home, and that means that not only we have to use things like Zooms, but you know, all the computer systems for a company may be uploaded online, and your job may require you to tap into things remotely. I can't sell it enough.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sharon. Anila's sent a question through. She says, hi, Sharon. I like educating my clients rather than just supporting. And I really like the information you shared. And I'm really interested in having that information to educate my clients in all sectors they want to have a career in. Can you please explain about how you can provide that support? Or how to provide that support? I meant for her to provide the support. I misread it. That makes sense.
Yeah, I have put this in, and again, I'm not trying to sell myself, but I do take enormous amount of pride in what I do, and also, Anelia, I was a lecturer myself, so I completely understand not only having that information, but having resources can make a big difference. So I'm gifting you all now in the chat, and it's not recorded, but this is a direct link to all of our library of live magazines. Now, we normally make people subscribe to access them, but they really are a really useful tool, because what it does, we cover across all the magazines different topics, and we do employ LMI within it. And when you're using that to educate, and I love the fact that you're educating, because that is the key of going forward. Nobody's in a cookie cutter mold anymore, and we have to break that way of thinking that I am this, and again come back to how can I think differently? How can I find out more information? And it's teaching them how to be curious, and how to question, and how to expand their knowledge. So with the magazines, they might read a case study, they might read an article, but it doesn't stop there. All those other links that I shared and those organizations, like, right, okay, so you've expressed an interest, you're really attracted to the idea of working in the food and drink industry. You had no idea that perhaps warehousing and organizing and logistics is right up your street. Let's go and look at the Food and Drink Federation's career pages and see what they've got. Let's look and see what kind of jobs are out there. And I would also really strongly suggest networking is so important. Like you guys are all coming on this now and chatting. You could chat with each other, you know, but sadly in this world, you know, it's not always what you know, it's sometimes who you know. And getting your face out there and showing, like I said, that passion by doing more than just applying for a job, you know, joining a sector body, going to events, going to webinars, a way to kind of put your head over the parapet. But it's also more engaging. Can we ask our clients to subscribe? Of course you can.
Sorry, yeah, I was on mute there. I was going to say, I want to do a little hands up maybe digitally of everyone who immediately clicked on that link and has already had a look, because I did. So is it free to subscribe, Sharon?
Yes, it
Fantastic.
is. And I'm going to, if I could spell properly myself, I'm going to though share now the subscription link. I would really ask, I mean, obviously you now have the link and you can share that, I can't stop you, but I would prefer if you share this link, if you're going to share it wider than this group, because this is a subscription thing, and this means that we get information, and again, it's data. The more information that we have about people and what they're interested in, we can send our newsletters out, and they will be on the mailing list. That means that when we send out about our webinars that we run, that we have employers speaking, or when the magazines are out, or if they're particularly interested in a specific area, we can send them information too.
Excellent, brilliant. So yeah, do everybody subscribe to that, and let's see if we can get more subscriptions as well, because the more data we have, the more we're able to help people. But we got I saw lots of little hands and thumbs up there when I asked about that. I knew people would like it. And
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it very much.
Excellent. So I've been really impressed. One of the things,
if you
Sharon,
just go on.
Sorry, I don't know if you're aware. I know you've been keeping an eye on the chat. I've been really impressed by the amount of networking that's been going on and discussion in the chat. And usually I read it all out if I can, but there's just been too much on this session. So thank you everyone for your contributions. Back over to you, Sharon.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that networking and talking to each other and take advantage of these chats and share the love around. If you guys have access to information that you want to share to your colleagues on here, it's the way forward. And also, if there's a specialist question that you have, that you work in a particular sector, a particular type of clients, networking means that you might find someone who can introduce you to their different networks too, that can help provide information and for you to help your clients. I've also just put in our regular Careermap link. We do have vacancies and they are broken down by sector. So quite a few of you on here had mentioned about how the job vacancies themselves actually give you information coming back to the things like recognizing what kind of things employers are looking for and what's available. And we do link our content to this. So if they read about a job that they may not have heard about before, you know, if there's vacancies available, then they can go and explore that. And it is the recruitment sector is very much set up to inform. We certainly are. I'm glad to see you're going to be able to help your clients. I could talk your ears off, people, so thank you.
Do you know, I keep muting myself.
It is free to subscribe, by the way.
I keep muting myself. Normally I don't, but it's really noisy where I am today. So I keep starting to talk and I'm muted. So apologies for that. So it has been fantastic. And thank you so much for everything you've shared, Sharon. Yeah. Does anyone have a last moment question before we let Sharon go? I think we've addressed pretty much all of the questions. For those of you who haven't managed to copy all the links down, I will do my best to get them into the email that we send out post session. I know in the chat a lot of you have shared your email addresses. If any of you haven't managed to take them down and you do want them, again, get in touch with me. If people have shared them in the chat and they're happy for me to share them, I can pass them on. So that's absolutely fine. As Annie has said, yes, the recording will be going on to YouTube, so you can have them. So you can go back and look at those slides, which were fantastic. Amanda said, amazing sessions. Many thanks for all the information.
I've also want to say that I put, the education space that follow me, and I do tweet all sorts of stuff that as they pop across my desk. For instance, I just popped that you may not be aware, but the BBC is hiring right now for tech people. So whenever I find anything, so feel free to give me a follow, and I'll make sure to, you know, give you things live so you've got it to hand.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. So yeah, please do everyone.
Thank you very much, Helen, for having me.
It's been really wonderful and really interesting. So yeah, and I'm getting lots now. There's too many of you for me to read everything, so apologies. But yeah, people saying, yep, they want those links, and yes, it's been an outstanding session and a great session. I'm sorry, I know we've had a bit of technical with the dropping in and out, but that's the world these days, isn't it? When we work from home and we work remotely.
I'm sorry about that, everyone.
It can't be helped, can it? It can't be. I've kept muting and unmuting because I've got noise in the background, and it's just one of those things. We can work with it, can't we? We're used to bigger challenges than sound dropping in and out sometimes on Zooms, I would imagine. So thank you all very much for your time and attendance today. Thank you, Sharon. And I do remember I made a note that you'd offered to come back and do another live learn lunch. So I will pick that up with you post session and let everyone know when you're rejoining us. For those of you who I know some of you are here for the first time today. If you are, and it'd be great to know how you found out about the Live Learn Lunch if you're not members. If you do want to, I'm just laughing because someone sent me a message, and I will, Martin, I'll respond to it in a moment. But for those of you who are new to us, if you do want to receive our Learning Network e-bulletin that has our schedule on, you can do so by, if you email me at helen.lee at iemployability.org, or you can find me via the IEP website, and we'll get you on the mailing list so you receive that. Next week, we have a session around self-awareness and the importance of self-awareness to supporting ourselves and our members. And it's brought to us by a gentleman called Steve from SS Solutions, who does lots of growth mindset and the power of positivity training for celebrities and sports people and all sorts of people. So it should be a great one. Join us for that one. For Martin, who attended a previous session, I think it was last week's session, he's asked if I have started packing. I don't know, I haven't. Well, I kind of have. I've got the boxes in the house and I've sort of taped the boxes up. He will know, and everyone who was here last week will know. So I have made a start, I've made a plan, and I've got the boxes and they're around the house now. So there you go. So yes, I have. And thank you for holding me to account on that, Martin, because I think I remember asking you all to. So that's great. Lots more thank yous coming in. Do join us on future sessions. As I say, I'll let you know when Sharon is rejoining us. Sarah's already signed up for some more sessions, so that's wonderful. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Hopefully it won't be as noisy where I am next week, so I won't be glancing the wrong way all of the time. But thank you again, Sharon. And I am going to be making lots of use of Careermag and that advice in the IEP Knowledge Bank moving forward. So we'll talk some more about that.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Sharon. So have a wonderful week, everyone. And I will look forward to seeing you all virtually, if not face to face, at next week's session. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to meet you.